So we're on Faezress and Madness. This is so cool. So I gave you a quick summary in my last video. I'll do it again. The very existence of the demon lords on our plane, or the main plane, causes a radiation of monstrous power. The black magic in its purest form, absolutely chaotic, absolutely demonic. It's not a good time. Oh, damn. Not a good time. So what does this do? What can you do? Well, there are a few things. Some of the effects that happen inside was, like I said, if your character casts some sort of spell, some sort of magic, you can do the chaos tables, and there are tons of different variations of those tables. I don't like using the handbook one because a lot of them are, I mean, they're all right. I mean, it's totally random, but you can find some fun ones that turn your characters into, you know, like sheep or something, or snakes or whatever, and that's a lot more fun. But you can do that, or you can do, as this illustration shows, some pretty mind-boggling stuff. Reality doesn't work normally. If magic doesn't work normally, neither does gravity. I mean, you have like different rocks and stuff suspended, and this is truly a illustration of the Underdark. It could truly just be this almost like space voidish alien world, and that's what's so cool about the Faezress. It's a good excuse. I wrote right here. Oh no, it's a good excuse I wrote. Why did I write that? It's because you can do whatever you want with Faezress. It's a good excuse to fill in and shoehorn in whatever you want to do. You want to do zombies. You want to do minotaurs made of glass. You want to do rock men or rock octopuses. You know, you can do all kinds of stuff with Faezress, and it's really fun. Teleportation doesn't... Oh, well, I should start with divination magic. Being a form of radiation built or born from the demons, divination and holy magic shouldn't really work too well here. As a matter of fact, the book suggests that just to use some sort of divination magic, you should roll an intelligence or your spellcasting a spellcasting roll of whatever magic it is. You know what I'm talking about. Beating 15. Just to see if it's cast. After it's cast, because it's in Faezress, you also need to see if some sort of wild magic will work. I like to personally really instill our characters that this is some sort of, you know, vessel of sin floating around this Faezress by personally harassing our paladin, right? So if you have a character who has divine smite, I wouldn't necessarily roll to have him maybe activate it, right? I would just literally do like half damage. Maybe it doesn't happen at all. Do that, you know, really show them that this is not an area where, you know, the light prevails through everything. The shadow dominates, you know, any sort of holy magic, and I think that's a really good symbol in terms of how dominating this force is. Teleportation. Teleporting within Faezress, first you have to roll maybe some sort of check to see if you can even do it, but once you do it inside the Faezress, there's no telling where you can go. I have used this in a fun few ways. Although it was a mistake, we had to retcon a little bit. I had characters teleport out of the Faezress, and I know I said don't do this, but this is way later on. I had them teleport straight into Menzo Branson, you know? And that's miles away. And I know there's a limit, but also this is Dungeons and Dragons. You can make things up. And that's how you DM, brothers. You just make shit up on the fly. Well, what else happens in the Faezress? Well, if you stand in there too long, you might get a little mad. And what do I mean by that? So let's see. Do I have... Oh, I do. Madness. Here we go. The Madness table. Now, I'm so afraid of being sued because I have $7 in my bank account. And Netflix is about to screw me up tomorrow. And I heard that if you modify images that you copy, you can kind of get away with it. So there's me dabbing. This is years ago, man. So don't, you know, I know cringe. But it was years ago. Yeah. Oh, what happens? What is Madness? Well, first let's go over the effects and then go over the time. If you stand in Faezress too long, it could mess with your brain and make you go absolutely ballistic and mad. So what your characters will do once they get Madness is, and don't even roll for it. I personally wouldn't want you to, depending on the severity. If you're in Faezress and you want to try and do a roll for a random loot, or not random loot, a random effect from the chaos magic table, or if you want to roll to see if they're just mad just by, you know, happenstance, that's fine. Then I think you should do it. But I like to infuse Madness during scenes where our characters witness something fucked up, right? Sorry for swearing, but honestly, that deserves an F-bomb. If your character sees Zugme resurrecting corpses of their friends and birthing like literal canals of fungus out of their chest and their eyeballs. If you see characters and zombies kind of like just ripping people apart, maybe in the Faezress they begin to see hallucinations, hallucinations that their friends are losing their mind. Oh yeah, maybe you can show a character lose their mind. Maybe you can maybe they see something disgusting. Maybe they see their family. Maybe that's enough to make them go mad. Maybe they're paranoid, right? Sugi the Dragon asks, would you let a character choose how they specifically would like to go mad if they get a general idea? I never. Seeing as you're doing a lot of world building, and I'm assuming this isn't what you're asking, but like if they're like, oh, maybe I want to be, my character saw this and I want to purposely be mad. I don't think so. I would always have them kind of roll, specifically because, like I said, I don't really have them roll for madness. I create situations that are catalysts for the madness. What do I mean by that? Well, I already went through it, right? Corpses or seeing the Demigorgon, right? In chapter 3, when the Demigorgon rises up, I'm not even going to have you do a saving throw. What I'll literally have you do is roll a d4. And maybe a 1 and a 2, you gain the first bout of madness, first level, because there's 3 levels, and I'll go into that in a bit. Sounds like I'm bouncing around, but it'll all make sense in a second. Have a catalyst happen. The Demigorgon rises out of the steamy water. Blood is literally being summoned. Koatoa are killing themselves just for sacrifice, or just out of, pure madness, right? Your characters are going to be like, what the fuck is happening? Have them roll a d4. 1 to 2, they get the first level of madness. 2 or 3, they get the second. I almost hold it. Math is hard. 4, they get maybe the third bout of madness, and that should be pretty difficult. The levels of madness, what do they mean, right? Well, if you get the first level of madness, the duration of how long you suffer from an effect lasts for 1d10. So you land an 8, they suffer for 8 minutes. Out of combat, that's a lot of fun role-playing stuff. If it's out of combat, I would tell you again, old guy DMs knows what I'm talking about. Well, maybe, because all these are pretty good, but I would specifically kind of pick one for your character, right? So if it's a cleric, maybe a cleric of life, don't even roll, baby. Give him a nice 13 over here. 13 to 14. Life is meaningless. Embrace the... Is that a real word? I don't know if that's a Dungeons and Dragons character. Nihilism, right? That's nihilism. Rejection of all religious and moral principles. Fuck yeah, do that to your cleric. Mess them up. And you know what? It's only for 8 minutes. What a big deal. Maybe... No, hold on. Get back. Put that sword away. We're not on you yet. So those characters, right? Have a character go into the complete atheist mode. And, maybe even have their god pitch in a little bit. After their 10 minutes or potentially hours, level 2 is the same thing. You'd roll a d10. Whatever number you get, that's how many hours they are. Have them pitch in, right? Maybe 8 hours came by, your character goes back to praying, and the first thing they're going to want to do is pray to their, if they're role playing, they're going to be like, hey, whoever, Paylor or whatever, I'm sorry that I told you I was not religious, blah, 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 whatever. Have the god come, maybe not come down, but give him a sign of like, hey, man, no, you're cool, I get it. But have some sort of serious conversation and scare them a little bit. This is a good chance to be like, hey, you're for it. Have let's say this, I'm being the god, and this is a cleric who's apologizing for being an atheist for a little bit. You're like, hey man, you're cool. I get madness is rough, but as your fortitude has been for however many years they've been alive, a cleric, unstoppable. The fact that I'm not getting mad, it tells you a lot, because I know that you didn't choose to give that up. Now, nothing can break our tether. I'm giving you my radiance, my magic, and I make that tether made of adamantium. Nothing can break through it. Except for this. Whatever this is, whatever the Faezress is, whatever it's coming from, is a threat to not only our connection, but specifically something more. So maybe on the 4th session, you have a character's god literally tell him, hey man, whatever this is pretty fucking bad. And that'll kind of freak him out. Because most of your players usually don't even get some sort of interaction from the gods. So maybe you don't want to do a full-blown, they come down, full-blown message. I don't like to do stuff like that, not this early. That's some level 12, 15, 20 shit. Even then, it's never their true form, because they'll go crazy or whatever. But have some sort of message come down, maybe even in the sand, like be careful or something like that. That'd be a lot of fun and a really good thing to do. And see, now what if your cleric rolled a 1 and they had no madness? You have lost a pretty cool role-playing moment. What if they rolled, right? Like, you can do a bunch of different stuff. You're a prophet. The god whispers directly in your ear. That could be really fun for a cleric too. Or pick a character who specifically hates gods. Maybe his character was, killed because of some sort of divine, what is it called? Crusade, right? Now they're a prophet. That's pretty fun. I specifically like to build upon these things. Kind of make your connections, make it feel personal, right? So what happens if level 1 was 10 minutes or up to 10 minutes? Level 2 was up to 20 or 10 hours, right? What happens if they roll a 4? What happens if they get the 3rd tier? Well, your madness is indefinite until you are hit with a greater restoration spell. This is a big deal. Now, why do I hate the random rolling table? Because if your character rolls an 18, you are the reincarnation of an enemy the party has killed, and they truly believe that now your paladin with divine smite is Ilvara, depending on how they roleplay. And it's not going to be this Freaky Friday, what the hell, I'm in this thing. It's going to be like, okay, well, now I'm obviously a bad guy. Your character will permanently want to kill your characters. And if you're, before level 5, 6, I'm not even sure where Greater Restoration comes out, there's a good chance that you permanently turn your character into a playable NPC that's trying to kill your friends. And yeah, that could be fun in terms like, what do we do, But let's say that they chain him up. Let's say they drag him along. Very cute if it's an NPC. If it's your player, they're going to be stuck for 2-3 sessions not being able to do shit, role-playing a character they never designed. That's not fun. That's why you got to be careful with some of these tables. Later on, and I'm going to be very quick with this because I know how crazy it sounds, but later on, about 80% into the campaign, there's a chance that your characters can all go back in time and restart at the first page of the book. That's insane. And that's on a random roll table. You roll 98, 99, whatever the hell, and now you have to restart the entire campaign. Yeah, maybe it'd be kind of fun. Maybe it's a good idea. Genuinely, it's not, not crazy bad. Now your characters can, they know all the secrets. They're high level. They get to really flex. Honestly, one idea I had was send them back for a couple of hours. I shouldn't be going into this, but that could literally end your campaign, potentially. And if you're going to, roll 98 and say, oh, I don't want to restart at Valkenvelve, I'm going to fib and roll another one. If you're going to do that anyway, why not just pick one that's most suitable for your players? It's not railroading. It's just, DMing. Star-Lord Special says Greater Restoration is a 5th level spell. 5th level spell. That's insane. Most of my characters haven't gotten that after maybe a year's worth of playing in terms of 5th level spells. Now, you want that happening at level, because when the Demogorgon comes out, that's a pretty, it's pretty reasonable to give someone some sort of indefinite madness. But making them the players that, hey, now I'm going to kill everyone, you're not going to do that. Your characters aren't going to have Greater Restoration. Maybe it's a good incentive if you want to scare them a bit, leave some Greater Restoration scrolls around. Of course, that's a good idea. Like, that's a good, easy loop around, and that can make fun role playing. But honestly, you got to think about these things ahead, and you got to think about how your players feel. Because it's not your job, it's your job. I'm saying it's your job to make sure the players are having fun. So overall fun in games, as I said, madness can be, we are going way too far. Sorry if you guys saw that. Hopefully you haven't. So the next point of contention is Need for Speed Drought Pursuit and why I don't do anything the book asks me to do. I'll keep this short. The